There's a blood-curdling scream rattling inside the ice cream truck, blood on the metal. The child is terrified, and his terror only increases when the hatch opens and a long, fleshy appendage reaches out. For a child, there's nothing quite like the thrill of summer vacation. The long, sun-soaked days of doing cannonballs into the pool, running through sprinklers, riding bikes until the sun sets and the fireflies fill the air with twinkling lights. Coming home with hair stringy from swimming pool chlorine, faces smeared with sunscreen, hands sticky from too many popsicles. Their parents call it a mess. They call it freedom. And if the freedom of summer vacation had one sound, a theme song perhaps, it would be the music of the ice cream truck. That cheerful melody, the siren song summoning every kid with a pocket full of change and a taste for frozen treats. All over the country, children pool their allowance money and spoil their appetites for dinner whenever that special truck rolls into the neighborhood. And this neighborhood is no exception. All of the kids cried and mourned the previous summer when the ice cream truck driver who had served the area for 30 years tragically hung up his hat and retired. They worried that there would be no ice cream truck at all this summer. But wishes do come true, and the first evening of the summer, a music box rendition of Pop Goes the Weasel serenades the neighborhood, signaling the return of the beloved truck. As they gather around, fistfuls of cash in hand, the crowd of kids can't help but notice that this truck is a bit different. There are no colorful pictures of the truck's various offerings emblazoned on the side, no prices either. Most notably, there's no driver, at least not one that they can see. But when the first brave child, a little girl, steps up to the side of the van and asks for a chocolate-dipped cone, a slot opens, and out comes her order. She pays the same price she paid for her ice cream the previous summer, and that's the entirety of the transaction. With the seal broken and the van proven to be a genuine ice cream truck, the other kids line up to place orders of their own. As they do, one small group of boys stands off to the side, speaking in hushed whispers. There's something funny about this new ice cream truck, something they don't quite trust. Why isn't there a driver? Why does it look so unusual? One boy suggests that the truck is haunted, driven by the ghost of a former ice cream man. Another argues that it must be some kind of robot, a self-driving truck with an automated ice cream dispensing system. The third boy insists that there is a driver. He's just hiding, for some reason. There's only one way to know for sure. They'll have to wait until everyone else is gone and try to get a look inside. While the rest of the neighborhood's children are ordering and enjoying their ice cream, the three boys run home to collect supplies for their special investigation. They reconvene in one boy's garage, across the street from where the ice cream truck is, still idling and serving its line of customers. One boy found a firecracker swiped from his older brother. The other grabbed a disposable camera for capturing proof of whatever they discover. The third has procured the most important tool of the mission, a crowbar taken from the toolbox in his father's shed. Now, with all of their equipment assembled, the three boys are ready to uncover the secret of the ice cream truck. They watch from a distance until the only remaining customer has walked away from the truck. The engine revs, and just before the truck can pull away, the boy with the camera runs up to the side. He'll serve as the distraction. He holds up several dollar bills and asks for a deluxe hot fudge sundae. While whatever is inside of the truck is preparing the ice cream, the other two boys sneak around to the side of the van. They take the crowbar and place it in the crack between the doors. They apply as much pressure as possible, but it won't budge. But they're not about to give up now. They take a deep breath, summoning all of their strength, and try again. With a soft pop, the door comes open. The two boys glance at each other, eyes wide with excitement. They did it. Now, time to go inside. Quietly, carefully, they sneak into the shadowy back of the van. Meanwhile, on the other side of the truck, the boy with the camera receives his order and places the cash into the delivery slot. As he waits for his change, he suddenly hears a strange sound, a deep, rumbling growl emanating from within the van. The van begins to shake, and the boy can hear two voices screaming in terror. He recognizes the voices immediately as those of his friends. They must be in trouble. He runs around to the other side just in time to see the horrified face of one of his friends. The boy reaches out for him, trying to escape from whatever is inside of the ice cream truck. But just as their hands almost touch, an unseen force yanks the boy back inside. The door slams closed, and the screams go silent. Where there were previously 3 boys, now there is just one, standing alone, holding an ice cream sundae. The engine rumbles, and the truck drives away, leaving the remaining boy in its dust. His friends are both gone without a trace. But wait, what's that? On the ground, where the truck just was, is a small slip of receipt paper. The boy picks it up and reads the message scrawled on it in messy handwriting. It says, "Please come again, but make sure to follow the rules." On the back, there's a crude drawing of 2 young boys, eyes wide, mouths open in an endless scream. What was meant as an innocent expression of childish curiosity has ended in disaster after these boys unknowingly provoked SCP-1386. SCP-1386 is a white ice cream truck that appears to belong to the Good Humor brand. The truck's physical condition is poor, and unlike other trucks of its kind, it does not feature any images or descriptions of the products that it sells. The van drives itself without a person behind the wheel, and none of its doors or windows open via conventional means. This detail has led the Foundation to conclude that the van is sapient. Like most ice cream trucks, the van plays music, alternating between Pop Goes the Weasel and Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. These songs will play 24 hours a day and alternate every 4 hours. On a few occasions, it has been observed playing a version of Greensleeves, but as soon as a customer is detected, it will switch to one of the other 2 songs. SCP-1386 has a thin slot in the middle of its driver's side door, which can only be seen when it dispenses an ice cream product after making a sale. After the ice cream has been dispensed, a small slip of receipt paper will slide out with the price written in very sloppy but legible handwriting. Payment is given to the van through the same slot it uses to deliver ice cream. Once it has been paid, the van will simply drive away. The prices and flavors of the ice cream products offered by the van change daily. The van appears to never run out of stock on a given day, no matter how many orders it receives. In order to explore the nature of SCP-1386's products and, let's face it, to indulge in an all-too-rare sweet treat, the SCP Foundation conducted a series of tests. After thoroughly reviewing the official test log, I have assembled some of the most notable entries. On March 30th, 2012, 2 Foundation doctors, referred to in the file by the initials R and D respectively, placed their orders with the ice cream truck. They each requested 1 cookies and cream smoothie, and they received their orders without incident. The receipt was for $4.89, and the bill was swiftly paid. The smoothies were described as pretty good, though one doctor insisted he had had better. On April 1st, 2012, Dr. D placed an order for 1 Neapolitan ice cream sandwich. A few seconds later, the van dispensed an item. However, it did not resemble any ice cream sandwich that he had ever seen. It appeared, instead, to be a meat and cheese sandwich with a slice of tomato. Curious, D took a bite and found that the sandwich was in fact made out of chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry ice cream. It was a sandwich made from Neapolitan ice cream. Shortly after Dr. D tasted the sandwich, the van spat out a receipt. There was no price listed, only a simple message: April Fools. As Dr. D read the message, the van sped away, leaving him bemused, novelty ice cream in hand. The next notable test occurred on April 17, 2012. Dr. F ordered a single peach push pop and promptly received it, along with the receipt that demanded $16.27 for the treat. Dr. F scoffed at what he deemed an absurd price for only 1 push pop, and rather than pay the full cost, he inserted $3.75 worth of quarters into the van. Then he attempted to walk away. Well, the van was having none of it. A slot opened in the door of SCP-1386, approximately 6 feet in height. Then, a large rusted steel trap emerged, grabbing hold of Dr. F and dragging him inside. The slot slammed shut, and the usual ice cream delivery slot began to spew a sludgy pink substance for 5 minutes before driving away. A sample of the substance was taken for analysis, and it was found to be made up of blood, skin tissue, and bone fragments, all of which were a DNA match for Dr. F. After this incident, only D-Class personnel were permitted to interact with SCP-1386. On April 27, 2012, a D-Class ordered a cherry popsicle from the van, adding one request: with nuts. The van waited several seconds, then produced one cherry popsicle, unwrapped, studded with crushed peanuts. The receipt read, $2.20, your nuts. The D-Class chuckled to himself, then paid the van before it sped away without further incident. On April 30th, 2012, the D-Class chosen for testing was a bit more adventurous with his order. He requested a Caesar salad flavor popsicle. After a few moments, the van filled the unusual order, dispensing a popsicle that was off-green in color and was reported to taste like lightly dressed lettuce with a hint of croutons. The cost was $4.56, and there were no complications. On May 4th, 2012, the selected D-Class ordered a dark chocolate fudge pop. The receipt produced read $1.38. The transaction would not be notable if it weren't for the fact that the test subject chose to pay with 2 single-dollar bills. This would make it the first transaction under Foundation observation that required change. After the 2 bills were inserted, SCP-1386 made a sound like a cash register, then produced a small, wrapped package. On the front of the package was a hand-drawn image of various American coins. Once the D-Class had the package in his hands, the van drove away. At Dr. J's instruction, the test subject opened the package. Inside, he found 62 cents in American currency. The coins were analyzed and found to be completely ordinary and completely safe. The D-Class asked if he could keep his change. The request was denied. As the experiments progressed, the test subjects became increasingly creative with their menu choices. On May 10, 2012, the D-Class test subject asked the van for an ice cream Kinder Egg, unsure of exactly what that would be. The treat cost $3.87, and the van promptly dispensed an item that looked very much like an ordinary Kinder Egg, but was made from a coffee ice cream coating and a French vanilla ice cream interior. There was no toy inside, but there was, however, a handwritten note reading, "I owe you one toy." On May 16, 2012, the D-Class requested the following items in order: 1 cherry ice lolly, 1 cherry ice pop, 1 cherry popsicle, and 1 cherry-flavored drink, frozen. After receiving the order, the van began to emit a distressing sound. The test subject described it as a real unnerving sound, like someone skinning a cat in reverse. The sound continued for several seconds before the slot opened and several unwrapped red sticks of ice shot out at a high velocity, landing on the pavement and shattering there. A few moments later, a large styrofoam cup was dispensed containing an unidentified frozen green liquid. The test subject asked the van, "What do I owe you?" But the van gave no response. Instead, it drove away. Pieces of the red ice shards were taken in for analysis and were found to consist of 2 parts water, 1 part red food dye, and 1 part arsenic. The contents of the cup could not be identified, but the substance was observed to have a melting point so high that it could not be thawed by any available means. The cup and the strange green substance therein have been held for further examination. Personally, I find it unlikely that any of its secrets will be uncovered. It is uncertain what might have driven the van to act up in this manner, but it is my theory that the combination of 3 different synonyms for popsicle in the same order caused the van to become confused, then distressed, and then angry. As for the unmeltable substance in the cup, well, I certainly wouldn't drink it. For the next experiment, the research team decided to test a new procedure when it came to placing ice cream orders. The selected D-Class was a mute, but able to write. Rather than speaking their desired purchase aloud, they ordered a vanilla cone in chocolate via a message written using a pencil and paper. Then, they raised the paper toward the van, holding it in the spot where the dispensing slot normally appeared. After 1 full minute had passed, a slot opened, 3 inches lower than the usual one. Next, something emerged from the slot, a thin, flesh-colored appendage which grabbed the paper and slid back into the van and out of sight, closing the slot behind it. A few moments later, the usual slot opened and the ice cream was dispensed. The receipt followed, asking for 97 cents in exchange for the treat. The price was paid without further incident, and the D-Class test subject was interviewed. They responded in sign language, their hands trembling in fear as they recounted the experience. The transcription of their statement is as follows. It was a hand, not human, 2 fingers and a thumb. It was bony like a dead body, and it smelled. It smelled dead. They refused to eat the ice cream they had ordered, explaining that they had lost their appetite. Naturally, this development piqued the research team's curiosity, and they were eager to explore the nature of this hand further. On May 30th, 2012, personnel D5 was selected for testing and ordered to repeat the same steps when placing their order. It should be noted that D5 was not mute. I attribute any changes in the experimental result to this factor, but that's just my opinion. D5 wrote down his ice cream of choice and handed it to the van. Again, the lower slot opened and the flesh-colored appendage emerged. The ice cream cost 86 cents and the bill was paid without any trouble. As he ate his ice cream, D5 was questioned about the appendage he had seen. He was far more nonchalant about it than his predecessor had been, stating, "I don't see what they were getting all worked up about. It's just a hand, you know? There's probably just some guy in there handing out ice cream. Sure, it's weird, but what here isn't?" On June 4th, 2012, the same experiment was repeated again. Personnel D2, who was also not mute, wrote down his request for a banana sundae with hot fudge and handed it to the van. Again, the second slot opened and the fleshy hand emerged to take the order. D2 had nothing notable to say about the transaction, with one exception. He insisted that there had to be a person inside the van, explaining, "There's got to be somebody in there. I could swear I heard somebody cough like they had a cold or something." The researcher conducting the interview brought up the subject of the hand, and D2 shrugged. "Look," he said, "it's just not that big of a deal, just a hand. Got all 5 fingers, looked healthy, certainly not dead or whatever. B's just lost it. Never trusted that guy much anyway." B, in this case, referred to the mute D-class from the previous test. There is one more date in the test log, but rather than an experiment, it catalogs a development that I find deeply troubling. On June 6, 2012, personnel D7, the aforementioned mute test subject, was found dead in their holding block at 7:40. The time of death was determined to be approximately 4:30. They did not share a cell with anyone else, and there were no signs of forced entry. However, the cause of death was strangulation, complete with light bruising on the neck. This is speculation, but I am willing to bet you the cost of a deluxe banana split that, if examined closely, those bruises would match a hand with only 2 fingers and a thumb. SCP-1386 is kept in an evacuated 4-block neighborhood surrounded by a 10-meter-high reinforced concrete containment wall. This area is located 8 kilometers from the nearest inhabited neighborhood. In the aftermath of some unfortunate incidents, the containment procedures were updated to include constant surveillance. Additionally, the area may only be approached by D-class personnel. Any individual that does approach SCP-1386 within a 3-meter radius must put on the appearance of happiness. For example, smiling or laughing regardless of one's current emotional state has proven to be effective. If the subject is approached by someone that does not appear to be happy, it will growl, refusing to engage positively until the individual appears friendly. If a member of Foundation personnel is going to make contact with SCP-1386, they are strongly advised to have at least $20 USD on hand, and where the entity can see it. If SCP-1386 is approached by someone that does not have a currency available, a siren will begin to emit from its undercarriage for the next 24 hours, at a frequency that causes bleeding of the inner ear. So far, all attempts to silence this siren have been unsuccessful. Once the siren has started, SCP-1386 will refuse to move until the 24-hour period is up. Any attempts to interact with SCP-1386 while the siren is active will increase the intensity and volume of the sound. As with any anomaly that I research, I find myself inclined to speculate a bit on the nature of SCP-1386. A self-driving ice cream van that only wants to hand out frozen treats to anyone willing to pay for them sounds more like the subject of a children's book than a standard SCP Foundation anomaly. But of course, as we've seen, it is not quite as cheerful as it first appears. Whatever consciousness is inside of SCP-1386, it does not appreciate being mocked or toyed with. It has no tolerance for anyone behaving in a manner that it does not approve of, and will punish that behavior accordingly. And God forbid you order an ice cream and then refuse to eat it. Though it could be that the refusal to eat the ice cream is not what doomed that unfortunate D-Class. Perhaps it was that they simply saw too much, knew too much. Maybe getting a proper look at that arm is what sentenced them to death alone in their cell. Perhaps it's best that the identity of the thing inside the van remain a secret. After all, if we learned too much, I can almost guarantee that we would all scream for ice cream. Check out the DrBob Patreon and become a junior researcher today. Now go and watch another entry from the files of DrBob, like SCP-7783. Dissolve your body today.